Hello, welcome to episode 49 of the Fisher Fitness Coaching Podcast. Hope you're all good. Thank you for listening, as always. Much appreciated. Okay, so this episode, almost at 50. We're getting there. And I'm seriously running out of ideas. So if you've got any questions at any time, please let me know and I can answer them on a Q&A podcast. Anyway, what's been happening my end? Not much, to be fair. Just the old... What have I done? I went to London Sunday. It was nice to see my brother. Went with my brothers and sister. Sorry, my brother and sister. If anyone gets a chance to go to Hackney, like North East London, go to the Hawk pub for a roast. It's amazing. Amazing food. Just a nice all-round pub with like restaurant quality food. It's really, really good. We went there for some food and a couple of Diet Cokes, and then drove back. Very easy drive as well. So if you're from Norwich, if you're in Norwich, just head down to Hackney. It's like an hour and a half drive. Very, very easy, and it's well worth it. Anyway, moving on. I haven't done anything else, to be honest. That's sort of it. That is my life. Have I? I went on a stag do last week, 2 weeks ago. Went to Liverpool for a few days. That was heavy, but it was good. Had a good time. All the drinks, all the food. Yeah, so back to it now. Full health, lots of sleep, and it feels good to get back to some sort of reality. So this episode, 49, I'm going to go through some fat loss myths for you. I did a muscle building myths podcast a while back, a good sort of, maybe last year now. So I thought I'd do a fat loss myths episode to go through some very common myths. I've got a few from you guys who followed me on Instagram. I put a poll up and asked for some myths that you know about, which you want debunking. So I've got a few, which I will go through. I've got about 10 altogether. There are more, obviously, but I just haven't. I don't have the capacity to go through them all, because they are a bit. With everything I've gone through over the last 48 episodes, I'm pretty sure you will know most of these now are myths, and hopefully you know why they are myths. So if I just start from the top, obviously, and work my way through them, it shouldn't take too long. So the first one I've got here is carbs make you fat, or carbs cause fat gain. And then the one after that is fat makes you fat. So, no, this is not true. Fat or carbs don't make you fat, but caveat is carbs and fat can make you fat, but they don't. What does make you fat, what does cause fat gain is consuming more calories than you burn, so being in a calorie surplus. And I apologise if you know this already, but this needs to be addressed again. So carbs, it's almost impossible for carbs to actually cause fat gain, because it's a lot easier for your body to store dietary fat than it is to turn carbs into fat, basically, to transform carbs into fat. So it's a lot easier for fat to be stored as fat than it is carbs to be stored as fat. But obviously, the only way your body will store fat as energy, so body fat, is if you consume more calories than you are burning. Right? So let's say I don't want to confuse you, and I understand this may be quite confusing, but if you consume 3,000 calories and your maintenance calories is 2,500, the 500 calories, those 500 surplus calories will be stored as fat. Now, it's very unlikely that you can go a whole day without consuming any dietary fat. So if you are in a surplus, those 500 calories of a surplus, from whatever you consumed as dietary fat that day, it will be stored as body fat, if that makes sense. So if you consumed 500 calories worth of dietary fat, then that will be stored as body fat. If you didn't, if you managed to get through a whole day without consuming any dietary fat, which is very, very unlikely, by the way, then yes, the 500 calories that you consumed in a surplus will be stored as body fat through basically your body essentially changing carbohydrates into body fat. But it's very, very hard to do. But if it has to do it, it will do it, because obviously those calories can't just disappear into thin air. They have to be stored as body fat somewhere. But obviously they'll be stored as like muscle glycogen and liver glycogen and stuff first. But that's before you're in a surplus. So if you're in a surplus, it will be stored as body fat. Long story short, I told you it was confusing. Long story short, carbs or fats don't cause fat gain, but they can contribute to you over-consuming your calories, which will cause fat gain. So the only way to store body fat or to gain body fat is to consume more calories than you are burning. In summary, that's the first myth. So don't be afraid of carbs, don't be afraid of fat. Like they're both very useful in their own way. Carbohydrates obviously, comes from all sorts of foods. Like even vegetables contain carbohydrates, fruits contain carbohydrates, chocolate, sweets, all the quote unquote bad stuff that you know about. It's glycogen. Okay, it gets broken down into glycogen and stored as energy. So it's not bad. Anyway, moving on. You must do cardio to lose fat. This is again wrong. And those of you who saw my Instagram story yesterday, I put up a recent study that was to prove this, that strength training has the same effect for fat loss than cardio does. So it just shows again, it just strengthens the fact that you don't have to do cardio if you want to lose body fat. You don't have to do any exercise at all if you want to lose body fat. All you need to do is create a calorie deficit, and you can do that purely through changing your eating habits and nutritional manipulation. So you don't have to do any cardio, you don't have to do any strength training, you don't have to do anything to lose body fat. You just consume less calories and create a calorie deficit if you want to lose body fat. Obviously, doing cardio will help with improved cardiovascular health, and it helps you keep healthy and fit, and it's got loads of benefits, but you don't need to do it to lose body fat. Again, next one. So another cardio-based one. Fasted cardio causes more fat loss. And again, this is false. Fasted cardio basically means doing cardio without before any food, hence fasted. And the myth was, it was once thought that if you do fasted cardio, then your body will tap into body fat a lot quicker for it to be used as energy. This is not the case. It all comes down to overall energy in versus energy out, or calories in versus calories out. When you do fasted cardio, you will, depending on the intensity of the cardio, but it will mainly be using carbohydrates as fuel, which will be taken from liver and muscles. If you if you do have, if your body does happen to use or break down body fat to be used as energy, then the overall amount of body fat you burn from that cardio session will be determined by how many calories you consume in that day. So, or day or week. It's overall energy in versus energy out. That determines your body fat levels, I suppose. So it doesn't make any difference, basically. If you do cardio fasted or fed, it makes no difference because it depends on how many calories you consume overall in that day, which is fairly obvious, I think. But if you want to do fasted cardio in the morning because it makes you feel better, then do it. But it has no advantages on fat loss over fed cardio. Next one, the keto diet is best for fat loss. Again, this is wrong. The keto diet can be effective for fat loss, and it is effective for fat loss. But the only way the keto diet or any other diet is effective for fat loss is because it reduces your calorie intake. So you basically reduce your the amount of calories you burn. Sorry, the amount of calories you consume. That's the only way it will help with fat loss. It helps you create and sustain a calorie deficit. For some people, they can sustain this low amount of carbohydrates, but for most people, it's just not sustainable, and it's just for long term, it's just not very beneficial for fat loss. The reason people assume that keto is so effective is because when they're on keto, if they are on keto, because it means you have to consume less than like 25 or 20 grams of carbs a day, which again is quite unlikely for most people. But let's say you are doing keto, you will lose weight, not fat. You will lose weight very quickly because it's basically water loss. You're losing water or muscle glycogen from your muscles, and people obviously weigh themselves, so they see that they've lost a few pounds in like a couple of days, and they immediately assume that's body fat, but it's not. Weight loss and fat loss is very, very different. And the same thing, when people come off the keto diet and they start eating carbs again, they gain weight very, very quickly because it's just muscle glycogen. It's just water. It's not fat they are gaining. So people think, oh yeah, when I start eating carbs stick to me. They say, like, quote unquote, they stick to me. And I put on weight very, very quickly if I consume carbs. It's not the fact that you put on fat if you eat carbs. It's the fact that you are putting on weight from the carbohydrates, putting water into your muscles. That is the weight that you are gaining. It's not body fat. Okay, so essentially, yeah, the keto diet can help for fat loss, but I doubt it's going to help long term. This is why I don't think diets are very effective long term. They all do the same thing. They all help create and hopefully sustain a calorie deficit. They're not magic. It's just consuming less calories. Anyway, next one is eating clean will lead to fat loss. Again, not necessarily true, but eating clean. So eating clean means like clean foods, so fruit, vegetables, whole foods, that kind of thing, nutritious foods, less ultra-processed foods, for example. People think that just by eating clean, you'll lose body fat. Not necessarily the case. It will potentially help because when you eat clean, you will end up consuming less calories because the foods you are consuming are higher in volume and they contain less calories, and they'll keep you fuller for longer. They're more satiating, and obviously they have more nutrients, so they'll make you feel better. You'll probably sleep better. You will probably move more because you're feeling less shit. You'll move more calories. So you'll move more. You'll burn more calories. You'll consume less calories, meaning that potentially you'll create a calorie deficit from eating clean foods. It's not the actual clean foods which is leading to fat loss. It's the fact that you're consuming less calories. But remember, you can still gain body fat from eating clean foods. It's just, again, a case of controlling the amount of calories you're consuming. Again, energy in versus energy out. That's all it comes down to. So yeah, eating clean I obviously recommend because it's that those sorts of foods are healthier, but you can still you still may need to track your food and your energy, your calorie intake from eating clean foods, just so you know roughly how much you are consuming, and you have a bit more food awareness, and you have more knowledge about the amount of energy and calories which are in certain foods. So it's always good to track, at least for a good few weeks to start off with, and then you can stop tracking for a couple of weeks, and then go back to tracking once every few months, just to kind of keep yourself on track, excuse the pun. So that's that one. HIIT workouts burn more fat. Again, not true. HIIT workouts, yes, they are more intense, obviously, because they are high intense interval training. But if you do an actual HIIT workout, which shouldn't take longer than maybe 10-15 minutes, if you are actually doing HIIT, then yes, in those 10-15 minutes you will burn more calories than if you were to do, let's say, an hour jog. But remember, fat loss, it comes down to energy in versus energy out within the day. So it's total energy in, total energy out. So HIIT workouts, yes, in that time will burn more calories, but after the HIIT workout is done, you will be more fatigued and you'll probably end up moving less throughout the rest of the day because you're tired. So you could actually end up burning less calories by doing that HIIT workout than if you maybe went for a 2-hour walk, for example. Because in those 2 hours of the walk, yes, you will burn a few hundred calories, but then you will continue to burn more calories throughout the day because you're not knackered. You're not just going to lie down and maybe fall asleep or eat more food because you've had a very intense HIIT workout, which could make you more hungry, which means you will consume more calories. So actually, if anything, HIIT workouts could potentially lead to more calorie intake. So no, HIIT workouts don't burn more fat. Don't burn more body fat. In terms of the fuel used by the body during a HIIT workout, it will be using mostly carbohydrates and creatine. Okay, so for sort of shorter, high intense bouts of exercise, your body uses creatine and carbohydrates. So to be honest, yeah, it's not that makes a difference, but most people think that the HIIT workouts burn a lot of body fat. They don't. It doesn't even burn or doesn't even use fat as a fuel. It uses carbohydrates and creatine. But in terms of body fat, again, it comes down to how many calories you are consuming in relation to how many calories overall you are burning. I'm not shitting on HIIT workouts. They are obviously very effective for overall fitness and they make you feel good. They're fun. Well, some of them are fun for some people, but they're not any better at fat loss than walking or running or any other cardio, or just simply controlling the amount of calories you are consuming. Remember, this is all about fat loss. This isn't about anything else. So next one is ab exercises will melt away belly fat. Again, not true, and this comes into spot reducing body fat, which is something I was asked. So spot reducing exercises or spot reducing body fat is a myth. I'll mention ab exercises because people tend to do loads of ab exercises in the hope that it will melt away belly fat and reveal a nice toned, flat, muscular stomach with a six-pack, but it's just not the case. The only way you will reveal your abs is if you create and sustain a calorie deficit, and that's done through nutritional manipulation aka changing your eating habits essentially. So ab exercises, like any other exercise, will help potentially build muscle around that area, but it won't get rid of any body fat unless you are in a calorie deficit. That's all I'm going to say. But again, if you like doing ab exercises, if you enjoy that sort of feeling of your abs burning and your abs feeling like they're aching, then do it. But it's not going to necessarily cause belly fat loss. And you can't necessarily spot reduce body fat from anywhere on your body unless you are in a calorie deficit. Okay, so you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose fat. That's a given. That is guaranteed, and that is, full stop. However, there are a few studies out there which suggests that if you do more work on a certain limb or a certain part of your body, like more resistance training on a certain part of your body, it could potentially lead to a bit more fat loss on that specific area, but only if you are in a calorie deficit. Like you can't let's say you're in a calorie surplus, right, and you're gradually gaining body fat over months and months. You can't just suddenly start doing arm curls on your left arm, and then suddenly your left arm will be completely shredded, and then every other part of your body will be will have lots more body fat. It doesn't work like that. You still need to be in a calorie deficit. But I found a study which I was quite shocked about, which it says, subcutaneous fat alterations resulting from an upper body resistance training program. But it was a non-random controlled trial. So it's not controlled. It's just completely random. So you don't know what these people are consuming in terms of calories. And also it says spot reduction occurred in men, but not in women. So it's not a very solid study. However, there is this one. So 2023, it's a very new study from Matthias Fosberg Brobacken et al. 2023. Abdominal aerobic endurance exercise reveals spot reduction exists. This is a randomized controlled trial. Abdominal endurance exercise utilized more local fat than treadmill running, indicating that spot reduction exists in adult males. So I haven't had a proper look into this. But again, with every study, take it with a pinch of salt. Like I said, it is scientifically proven, and it's been proven time and time again, that you cannot lose body fat if you are not in a calorie deficit. So abdominal exercises or not, you have to be in a deficit to lose body fat. But this maybe suggests that if you were to be in a deficit while working a specific part of your body and allowing more blood to be transported to that area of the body, is that going to potentially lead to more fat loss in that specific area? Potentially. This is what it's sort of saying. But again, I don't take this study and then suddenly start doing loads of ab crunches and not giving a shit about what you consume in terms of calories in your food, because it's just not going to happen. I'll do some more digging. I'll look into it a bit more, but any study you got to take it with a pinch of salt. But we all know that you can't lose body fat without a calorie deficit. So that's your main focus with any fat loss goal, wherever it is in the body. Anyway, I'll keep you updated with that, but I'll look into it a bit more. Anyway, and there are more studies. There are more studies with creams and all that kind of stuff, and infrared photography and stuff. But again, I'm not gonna look into that too much at all, and you shouldn't either. Okay, next one. The more you sweat, the more fat you lose. Again, this is BS. Sweat is not fat. Sweat is not necessarily fat being melting away from your body. Sweat is just water. Sweat, your body sweats because it's trying to cool your body down. And people sweat different amounts. I don't sweat that much when I work out, but then someone else who does the same intensity as me could sweat a lot more. It's not body fat disappearing from your body. So people who work out to sweat to try and lose fat, it's not, that's not what's happening. All it's doing, you're just losing water from your body. Yes, you're losing weight because it's water. Water weighs stuff. Water is weight, but you're not losing body fat. Again, the only way to lose body fat is if you consume less calories than you are burning. Cardio and training will help burn more calories and will help you create and maybe sustain a calorie deficit, but those activities of cardio and strength training which lead to sweating doesn't directly lead to fat loss. So again, you see people train or running on a treadmill with cling film around their stomach to try and sweat more from that area. That's not what's happening. Like, body fat isn't melting away. So don't get caught up in that rubbish. The only reason, if you were to see, I don't know, a professional athlete like a powerlifter or a boxer on a treadmill wearing a bin bag, for example, all they're trying to do is sweat out loads of water so they weigh less in time for their weigh-in, because they have to weigh a certain amount, and a good way to lose weight quickly is to sweat. So they use saunas, they use big hot baths, they work out with wearing bin bags or cling film to try and sweat more water out. And more water loss means more weight loss. More weight loss means they're going to hit their ideal body weight in time for their weigh-in, which means they can then compete in their weight category. It's not because, I hope it's not because they think they're losing more body fat. They're just not. Right, anyway, couple more and then I'm done. So next one is you can only digest 30 grams of protein at a time. Again, this is not true. There used to be a thing out there which basically told you that people used to believe that you could only consume or digest 30 grams of protein at a time. So you had to then have like 5 or 6 30-gram helpings of protein. Okay, but this is not the case. This has been proven wrong. Just worry about getting your total protein in that day. So it doesn't matter if you have 60 grams in a portion or a helping. It doesn't matter if you have 100 grams. Just focus on getting your total protein target done for the day. Your body will digest gradually protein throughout the whole day. It gradually digests it, and it will gradually sort of drip. If you can imagine dripping, like gradually dripping protein into your body to then be used for muscle protein synthesis and all this other stuff that uses protein, that your body uses protein for. So, long story short, don't worry about because if you're having like more than 50 grams of protein in a shake or a serving, it doesn't matter. Just get the protein down you, focus on hitting your daily protein target, and then you'll be fine. Next one is eating late at night causes fat gain. No, it doesn't. Again, there used to be a big thing like eating carbs after 8, or eating carbs at night will be stored as fat. That's not the case. It doesn't matter if you eat late or early or whatever. The only thing that eating late could potentially do is disrupt your sleep, and sleep is obviously very, very important for fat loss and muscle growth. So the key is not to eat too late or too soon before bed, because you don't want your body to be digesting or trying to digest all your food when you're trying to sleep and recover. So no, eating late at night does not cause fat gain. What does cause fat gain is, as you know, consuming more calories than you burn on average, consistently, aka being in a calorie surplus. I hope that makes sense. Lastly, you can turn fat into muscle, or vice versa. No, that's not the case. Again, especially with the bros, it was always like, yeah, I've turned fat into muscle, or I've transferred this fat into muscle. You can't do that. All you can do is gain and lose body fat, and you can gain and lose muscle tissue. You can't turn one into the other because they're completely different things. All you can do is build new muscle tissue by resistance training in the gym, getting stronger, blah, blah, blah. And you can also lose body fat, gain body fat by creating a calorie surplus or deficit, depending on what you want to do. But yeah, you can't turn fat into muscle and you can't turn muscle into fat. You can only gain and lose one or the other. So yeah, those are the fat loss myths I have thought of and you have sent in to me. I hope that helped. Any questions on any of those, please let me know. But I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope it made sense. Any questions? I've just said that. If you have any questions on online coaching, get in contact. I'll put the link of the application form in the description of where this podcast is. And yeah, just fill out and send in your application form and I will get back to you. And yeah, it'll be good to work together to get you some awesome fat loss or muscle building results. Also, yeah, if you can leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that would be good. If you can share this podcast to your stories on your Instagram or tell a friend or family, that would be awesome as well. It really helps. And yeah, I'll be back next week with another episode of some sort. But yeah, have a good one, guys. Thank you very much, as per usual, and I'll speak to you soon.